All right, it's Wednesday afternoon, and I wanted to take a look at the benefactors who have been in the news recently that have lavish trips on Justice Thomas and his wife, and tuition and the house for his mom, Mr. and Mrs. I'm going to avoid saying their name in this. And this is just for fun, but I find this quite interesting, and I'm not sure if it will go anywhere, but I'm looking at how this Senate inquiry, it's the Senate's going to keep hitting up against asking the Supreme Court for something directly because of the separation of powers. But the Senate can come up with justification to look into private party or business that affects their lawmaking or jurisdictional issues for passing laws about ethics or government ethics. So an inquire directly into Mr. and Mrs. Benefactors, we can call them Santa Claus, Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus, although that might be insulting to Mr. and Mrs. Santa Claus. Anyway, we'll look at the benefactors. Will this get anywhere? Will it open up anything? Can they actually get a subpoena and have them questioned? It's quite an interesting approach. I'm not sure if it will work. It might find, or things might come up in that then would interest the Justice Department. There are senators, or at least one senator in particular from Texas, who's pictured at this couple's house in front of their big fireplace, swearing in within a swearing-in formula for a Trump-nominated judge that was done at a private house. So I think the influence as benefactor goes beyond the Thomases. And I like what White House says. He's basically using the term capture the court, or there's a term, if you looked up on Wikipedia, agency capture. That's where an industry or a company can basically take over a government function. And let's take a look. Will this work? Will this have any effect? How are they reacting to this Senate inquiry? Let's take a look. I'll put in some fun things. All right, let's see. Mr. and Mrs. Benefactor. Is the Senate going to be able to get some information from you? What's your reaction to this? Ancestors, what do you want us to know about it? So sometimes I get things in here that I don't realize. So I got two other men in here I forgot to take out. When I grab things, I don't always pay attention. And so here's two other worry dolls, one up, one down, and we'll come back to look at that. Let's start off with the couple here. Now this is a fascinating pose. So the female worry doll is face down and the male worry doll is face up. And here's the heart. And they are joined at the feet. So he might be a little worried. She has certain wisdom. She surrendered to this with some type of knowledge or wisdom. She's not happy about things, but she's surrendered to it. They are a heart. Their story is united. There's not a separation between them in what they've done or how they've operated. They're very much united in this. Now, right over the head of the male benefactor is a knife. Like there's a knife coming right at his head. That isn't indicated of a good thing. But the left hand face up is touching the Buddha. There's two crystal ashes. He thinks he's very wise and he's covered himself and he can always explain why he did the right thing. But there's a shell down on top of the head of the Buddha, which I would indicate that he missed something or he was egotistical in the way, but he's actually opened himself up to a knife over his head. I think this is the little piece of wood which has meant something paper, and here's the money here. I think they're going to go after with a subpoena. This would indicate a subpoena about the money. And the reading is about the message of the subpoena about the money. And the reading then is about whether they have a subpoena for the money. So the Firestone is right here in Earth, which is a new vision for the home. And if this were our two senators, which I'll look at it, but this could be the two senators, what they're interested in is a new vision for the home and unlocking these agreements and story of the two benefactors, to unlock that and organizing around that, because it's the hope that we would change and not have we would have a court that's not, quote, captured. This is an interesting piece right here, and it's like a Shinto, a Japanese gate that you pass through. Almost a form of a portal or protection. This would be a new way to pass through, get through and pass through something that hasn't really been an approach that hasn't been done before. The earth, the earth is in water and there's a crystal here. So this could say that our government is murky. We don't know where the money comes from. We don't know who's financing them. We're seeking information about that. Our government and who owns it is financed. The seeing eye is here. It's in the blue water. There's something blocking it. But it doesn't look, it's just one block. So there's an obstacle to coming to get this. There's the zero here. So the zero that moves from blue water. So I don't know that the first time or the first approach will get them anywhere. Because you have this way of looking at it as being a block. But there's not a big blockage. So there might be more than one attempt or approach or way of doing it. I don't see that as a big block, but the first try at this, they might score a 0, which wouldn't be a surprise. Well, they've already started exchanging letters, but it might be a little more involved. The deep water stone here is in the water. And the deep water often means those that are below our level of consciousness. So there's a lot that we don't know. And there are relationships that are relevant to this. And those relationships might... You've got the right hand and the left hand. I think this could be Ted Cruz or somebody trying to block this, or it could be a judge. There's two shells up. There's the mountain stone here. So it's basically, let's block this, like an attempt to block this. But you've got the two snake bones on the other side of this. And right next, this is the truth. And it's on top of the mermaid. It's on top of the plane travel. There's the microphone and the crystal lache. And there's this power connection here. And the blue water stone here, which would be healing vision or revelationary vision. You've got the boot here and the GOP here and the wing. I think that it will, with the Halloween here, I think that this will bridge. So there's someone that's going to actively try to block this. But eventually the story will come out. So it's, when you go through this doorway or portal, the genie ring is here. The mineral stone is going from nature, story of transformation, and bringing this story home about an institution, which could be a court. And I think this is the just a second. This is White House, Senator Whitehouse, or represents more than one senator, like White in White House and Durbin. Anyway, whoever is going after this to find the truth, it's also about the woman that's part of a group. And there's travel and there's speaking here. And this is the cycles of, like, if you keep working on this, keep finding it, that more will come out. And this is your, almost your platform of power that raises up where things start to come out. Now, it could be an intervention here with the angel that the Department of Justice takes up something. I would say it's not till October, but it may actually be the woman's involvement with her, what she did, which would be probably Jenny, in her work that actually starts to have this impact here. This could be the church groups. This is a bigger issue that they're working on when they start to dig it in. This is picking up the threads and going with it. I do think that they will be able to get somewhere, but it's probably closer to October, possibly, and I think it involves connecting a lot of dots. That's what I would say. But with both snake bones here, I would say that they will have, in the end, they will enter this doorway. Their first try or so might get blocked. The senator here will try to block anything that they can. But they're going to come to light with more of the murkiness and more of the stories that aren't told. And I think in the end, the arrogance of I'm so wise, there are things that are going to lead to this elevation of power. And there's a relationship ring here, could be through someone's wife, that things are going to drop on the male benefactor in a way that he didn't necessarily expect and he didn't provide cover for. And this is messaging too about Texas with the GOP in Texas. So this could pull in other things like a bridge into what's happened in Texas with the messages in the GOP and how they're trying to transform or, quote, capture. This could be the other type of capture the government in Texas or the GOP as a group. So it might not bear fruit immediately. It might hit a few blocks. There might be people that stand up to defend it. But I don't believe this is only about the Mr. Benefactor. I think this is a Mr. and Mrs. Issue with the benefactors. All right, this is, I think this will be a while down the road, but they're on the right track. And if they keep going with it, I think they will get somebody with this.